taking some time to join us. So I request Novanita Sharma ji to share some of her reflections. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Randhir Gautamji. And good evening to everybody. I'm feeling very privileged that I'm having such a wonderful, August web gathering here. So thank you so much to everybody for giving me this opportunity. So I'm Novanita Sharma. I'm actually an environment activist and I write. So we have a forum called Free Tibet Voice from Assam. So we have been raising a people's movement in Assam, supporting the Tibetan cause of the Tibetan freedom movement. We support complete freedom of Tibet. So we support complete independence of Tibet, and we are raising a people's movement in Assam for that. So recently, one of my book got launched. The name of the book is also Free Tibet Voice from Assam. So this book is basically the reflection of the people's movement, which is growing very strongly in Assam and Northeast India, supporting the Tibetan cause of freedom. So basically, today's topic has been kept as why Free Tibet matters for India. So if I think about this topic, the thing that comes to my mind first is that if freedom of Tibet matters, it matters most to the Tibetans. And next are the Indians. For Tibetans, it is their nation, their sovereignty, their freedom. They definitely need to claim that. They have, they have rights to claim that. So like all of us, they have every right to be, free citizens of their own country. And after Tibetans, I think Indians, free Tibet, freedom of Tibet matters to the Indians the most. If and this Tibetan freedom movement, if anybody can do, any constructive and meaningful work apart from Tibetans, the contribution of Indians matter the most, because Tibetan freedom is rooted with India. Tibetan freedom movement is happening from India. The freedom movement started in India and it's raised in India and it's growing very dynamically in India. So in that connection, I think the support of citizens of India is very important. Tibetan freedom movement, was led by great leaders, Indian leaders, politicians like Professor Anandji and so many. But I think what was lacking in India was a people's, citizens movement. It had to become a citizens movement. The electorate of India had to, have a say for the Tibetan freedom movement. And that is what we are doing in Assam. So if you think about why Free Tibet matters for India, we all know about the security issues. We definitely need Free Tibet to secure India's, for Indian security, Indian peace and stability. Not only for our strategic security, but for our internal peace also. We want a free Tibet across our border. We don't want Tibet occupied in any way by communist China. We want a complete free, sovereign, independent Tibet across the Himalayan borders. And then we all know that about the Nalanda tradition, which has been very beautifully preserved in the form of Tibetan Buddhism. So if India really wants to rise, which is happening now, which we are seeing now, India is, a resurrect India. India is rising in a great way. So to see a fully risen India, we have to, see the rising of our traditional, the Indian philosophy, Indian traditions. And this can happen if we set Tibet free. We want a free Tibet, to set, for the full glory of Indian tradition and philosophy. So that is one very important point. And then there are other things and one very important factor is the ecological security of India. The security of Indian rivers, security of the Himalayan region is very, very important. And that can be done only with independence of Tibet. Since I'm from Assam, and we are raising this movement in Assam and Northeast India. So I would like to speak, in relation with this movement, which is being raised in Assam, the People's Movement of Assam in support of Tibetan freedom movement. So in Assam, this is the Brahmaputra Valley civilization. We call it, Assam is the Brahmaputra Valley civilization. We are the people of Brahmaputra civilization. So Brahmaputra, as we all know, it has its origin in Tibetan plateau. It begins its journey as Yalung Sangpo in Tibet, and it flows down from Tibet. It enters India at Arunachal Pradesh, a place called Tuting. And in Arunachal Pradesh, it gets the name of Siang. And then it flows down to Assam, the longest drainage in Assam. The river has the longest drainage in Assam, and it is called Brahmaputra. And it finally goes to Bangladesh, and it finally enters Bay of Bengal. We all know these geographical facts. But the point is, this connection, this Yalung Sangpo Siang Brahmaputra connection is very vital. Because ultimately the Tibetan civilization is nothing but a Brahmaputra civilization. As we all know, the Tibetan Buddhism is a form of, is a very beautifully nurtured, flourished form of Indian philosophy. The same way, the Yalung civilization is nothing but the Brahmaputra civilization. The people of Assam and Northeast India and the people in Tibet and the Tibetans, we all are in a continuum actually, an ecological and ethnic cultural continuum. The people of, if you come to Assam, you hear to the various music, you see the different dance form, you will see striking resemblance with the kind of music which is played by Tibetan people, by Tibetan communities. Because actually, we call in Assam, we call Tibet our fatherland. Because our ancestors, the ancestors of, Assam is ethnically very rich. The ancestors of almost all the ethnic communities, most of the ethnic communities have come from Tibet. So we have a very close ethnic anthropological connection with Tibet. And of course, this is very visible. It is visible in the cultural connection with Tibet. Our folk music, our food habit, our language, the Assamese language that we speak, it has Indo-Tibetan derivatives. So this connection is very strong. But the most important thing is that this connection, this cultural connection, this this cultural connection is there because of this ecological connection of this river, the Yalung, Sangpo, Siang, and Brahmaputra. And Brahmaputra River is the economic and ecological lifeline of Assam and Northeast India. So if you think about Assam and Northeast India, the richest resource that we have in Northeast India is, our natural resources, our rivers, our mountains, our forests. The Northeastern India, Eastern Himalaya is part of a very important biological hotspot, biodiversity hotspot, what we call it. So our forests are our lifeline. You go to many places in Arunachal Pradesh where there are no schools, there's no electricity, there's no development as such, but people never die of starvation there. People are very healthy, people are happy. And this is the gift of nature, actually. This is not the gift of any, modern day comfort or material development. So this natural resources, this backbone of nature is very important for Assam and Northeast India. And for that, we have to save our river, the Yalung Sangpo, which begins in Tibet and comes down as Brahmaputra. We have to save river Brahmaputra for our ecological safety, for our water safety in future. And so we are raising, Free Tibet Voice from Assam is raising a Save Sangpo Siang Brahmaputra campaign. This is a river conservation campaign. This is actually an ecological campaign, which is very unique, which has, cultural elements in it. It is connected, it is deeply connected with the Tibetan freedom movement. So to save Brahmaputra, we have to set Tibet free. So we are connecting this facts with the people of Assam, with the people of Northeast India. And this movement is connecting very well with people of Assam because Brahmaputra is not just a river. It's identity for Assamese people. You all must be aware of Bharat Ratna Bhupin Hazarika. He is known as a bard of Brahmaputra. Okay, his songs, if you listen to his songs, most of his songs talks about Brahmaputra and the life nearby. So Brahmaputra River is the lifeline, the economic, cultural, and ecological lifeline, and we have to save this. Now, how it is connected with Tibetan freedom movement? In Tibet, if I go, like I'm sitting here in Guwahati, I'm sitting right next to the Brahmaputra River. If I walk by the river and I go upstream, I'll reach Yalung Sangpo Valley. So what is happening in the Yalung Sangpo Valley? Communist China, I think everybody knows about it. Communist China is building multiple dams on the Yalung Sangpo, on the Yalung Sangpo River. And this has already caused a lot of problem. And this is actually going to be used as a strategic plan. So Communist China is said to use this water policies as a strategic plan. They are planning to build a massive dam at the Yalung Sangpo, the bend of Yalung Sangpo. And that dam will become a water bomb for the Northeast people. And not only that, if Communist China builds these multiple dams on Brahmaputra River, this is going to be a devastation for this ecologically rich Northeastern India. Assam, people of Arunachal Pradesh will be devastated. And this is not only a regional problem, actually. This is not a problem which we are facing in Assam. This is a national problem. This is the problem of India. If people in Assam and Northeast India are dying, are starving because the rivers have dried up another 20 years or so, then it's a national problem. So it's a catastrophe, actually. So we have to stop it by whatever reason. And for that, the only thing that we have to do is we have to raise awareness in Assam and Northeast India about a Tibetan cause. We have to raise awareness about what is happening in Tibet on at Yalong Sangpo, the origin of Brahmaputra River. And that is what we are doing here in Assam. And this is actually working. Assamese people are really rising in support of the Tibetan freedom movement. People in Arunachal Pradesh are actually rising in support of Tibetan freedom movement, because these rivers are the greatest assets for us, actually. And for that, we are using, literature campaign in Assam. We are writing in vernacular language. We are writing in Assamese, in other vernacular language. This book has been written. I have written this book in English because we wanted to give a reflection of what is happening in Assam. This is the Tibetan freedom movement in Assam and Northeast India. And we wanted the rest of country, rest of India and the world to see what is happening here. So that's why this book is written in English. But most of our literature, most of our awareness material is written in vernacular language, because we are reaching villages. We're reaching the forest range villages. We are reaching the tribal villages, because everybody needs to know about it. We need the voice of Assam, voice of Northeast India to rise for the freedom of Tibet. So this is a very important fact that we are raising, actually. Everybody, when they talk about the ecological campaign, Tibetan freedom movement is a global ecological campaign, but everybody is focused on climate change. If you talk about ecological aspects of Tibetan freedom movement, everywhere they're talking about climate change. But climate change is actually a result of what is happening, what is happening on the fragile environment of Tibet. Communist China is doing, rampant mining. No environmental laws are followed for mining. They are causing rampant damming on the rivers. So if we don't stop the damming, the multiple damming on Yalong Sangpo, then we are going to face the fate of what is happening in the lower basin of Mekong River. Communist China have made multiple dams on the upper stream of Mekong River. And the problem is already been faced by people there in Vietnam, in Laos, Cambodia, the lower basin of the Mekong basin. So, and they are already facing livelihoods, problems. So they are already facing water scarcity problems. So that is going to be the future of Assam if we don't raise our voice now. So I'm talking about this aspect because this is a very important aspect of the Tibetan freedom movement campaign, which we are raising in Assam and Northeast India, apart from other cultural aspects. So we are also raising awareness about the history of Tibet, about the cultural affinity of Tibet and Assam and Northeast India, various things. And another aspect that I would like to share with you all is that Assam is placed in a very strategic position between Tibet. For Tibet, it is very important for Tibet, very important for India and China as well. After 1959, India lost the peaceful border. Because China came there and China forcefully occupied Tibet at the Himalayan borders. And after that, we all know about the 1962 aggression. And I think Northeast people faced the worst at that time. And the psychological war continues after 1962. It did not stop there. Okay, so there are valid instances which says that there are Chinese villages which has been implanted inside the territory of Arunachal Pradesh. Indian citizens belonging to Arunachal Pradesh, they are held by Chinese authority without any reason. So this psychological game plan of China, communist China, okay. So communist China has always used Northeast India and Assam as a fulcrum, actually. Okay, they always spread the anti-India, the anti-national sentiments using Assam. So Assam has been a portfolio of all political movements. Everybody know about it. So behind these political movements, behind these anti-India movements, communist China was always there. So this rise of the Tibetan movement, the rise of people's voice for Tibet, in support of Tibet, is also a rise for the support of the Assamese people, the Northeast people, in support of the Indian nationalism, actually. So that is a very important factor here, because for China, it is a very difficult situation. For communist China, because they had planted this anti-India campaign in Assam, they use media houses who were writing in support of them all the time. And now, since we are raising this movement, so it is actually, spilling cold water over their gameplay. And at the same time, since Tibetans are so connected ethnically and culturally connected with Assam, so and the support of Assamese people for Tibetan freedom movement is very, very valuable. And for India, because the scenario, the geopolitical scenario now is changing, we all know about it. So the world is rising, world has risen to the awareness that, communist China is a threat, is an economic threat, is a threat to the peace and stability of entire Asia. So now in this scenario, this Tibetan freedom movement, which is rising in Assam as a people's movement, I think it's a very important thing. It's an important thing because it can be replicated in other parts of India also. People in other parts of Assam, India can also raise people's movement like Assam. And this will also help Indian government, I think, to take a bold step, maybe for a Tibet policy, to reframe the Tibet policy and have a firm stand to reframe the India-China relationship also. So these are the factors. And in that way, we feel that this freedom movement of Tibet, which is raising in Assam, is very, very important. And especially Save Sankosyang Brahmaputra campaign is very, very vital. I think the Indian government should raise these issues because this Yalung Sangpo is a transnational river. This river is flowing from Tibet to Assam, to India, and it goes down to Bangladesh. It is the fate of the people in all these countries, all these millions of people. And this belt, this downstream of Yalung Sangpo is actually some of the very, very, very populated places and people who are in abject poverty also. So any change in the hydrology, in the ecology, in this area will be very, very catastrophic. So this is a very important issue actually. And in a way, it is a global campaign. This is a global ecological campaign, which Assam is raising. I think this is and in Assam, Free Tibet Voice from Assam is raising the boldest voice. Save Sankosyang Brahmaputra, I think it is the boldest river conservation campaign till date. Nobody has done this ever. So these are the main things, these are the main features of the Tibetan freedom movement, which is happening in Assam, the people's movement, which is happening in Assam. Apart from that, the literature campaign is also very important because we began the literature campaign and now others are also picking it up. Now, the first, the supporters of Tibetan supporters were writing, but now other people are also writing. General public is getting, they are aware. People are writing books about Tibet. Different novels, fiction, non-fiction, different things are coming up now. So these are very positive things for the Tibetan freedom movement. So I think I'll say this much now. Maybe we can have interaction later. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Novanita Sharma ji. It was really very enriching and very insightful, and particularly the environmental issues and how this issue is related to, particularly the climate change issue, how this climate change issue is related to the